and welcome to the Heart of Law podcast. My name is Mirena Umizaj, and I'm your host. This podcast is designed to talk with legal professionals that are at the forefront of law and business and technology and understand how the landscape of the legal industry is shaping. Today on the show, I have Sahm, Tabibian, and Sahm Manouchehri, partners at Lyfe Law in Los Angeles, California. Both Sahm and Sahm are viewed as leaders of America's most modern law firms, staying in the leading edge of technology to improve efficiency and deliver superior client service. The firm operates under the motto, "Better technology improves efficiency." And this reflects in their commitment to leverage innovative tools and strategies to enhance the legal process and ultimately give their clients the best service they deserve and need. I was inclined to have these two brilliant young men on my show because what they're doing in the firm today caught my attention, and very, very few firms are doing around the country. And I know this because I talk to lawyers every day because of the line of business I'm in. In fact, many law practices that I know use no technology at all, have no social media presence, and still believe that law and technology don't really merge. So obviously, for those that are current and understand how AI is impacting almost every industry, I really want to speak with people that are thinking about it, taking action. And so I invited both Sahm and Sahm to speak to exactly this topic a little bit more. So guys, thank you so much for coming to the show. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
Sahm, I want to start out by asking how you all came up with Lyfe Law. I love the name, and I would love to know how that story came about. It's innovative, it's different, it's cutting edge. So please share, for those who are wondering if they need to do something about their brand, your insight would be very helpful.
Sure. I'll definitely shorten the story of Lyfe because it'll take way too much time.
Yeah.
But Sahm and I started Century Park Law Group, which is our predecessor name, in 2013 with a single emphasis: quality, quality, quality. And we never wanted to be the biggest. We wanted to be the best. Always wanted to be Ferrari, not Ford. And despite having one single goal of quality, we kept growing. And I would always push back on too quick a growth because I didn't want it to affect our quality. And fortunately, with our technologies, particularly, our case management software programs and our protocols, we were able to grow considerably quickly without affecting our quality. Fast forward to 2020, 7 years later, we became partners with USC Trojans, and we felt that our name no longer represented what we did and what we do. Mm-hmm. And to be quite honest, it was not as marketable as we would like it to be because it's simply too long of a name. And marketing an acronym like CPLG, a lot of companies do it, a lot of law firms do it. It never really, appealed to us to be some acronym. It's not easy to remember anyways, even if you're just saying 4 letters like CPLG. So we embarked on finding a new name. Mm-hmm. And there was 4 elements that we determined we wanted in our name. Number one, we wanted to represent relatively what we do. We're an injury law firm representing personal injury and workers' comp clients, and we're expanding to other areas of contingency law, also known as consumer law. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we help our clients get their life back, their quality of life, by getting them, full medical recovery and ultimately full monetary compensation. So number one, I wanted to express what we did as a law firm. Number two, I wanted it to be a relatively short name,
right?
Particularly for our signage and our partnerships. It's easier to market with a short name. 3, we wanted it to be uniquely spelled for Google searches. And finally, we were able to buy Lyfe.com. So in essence, we changed the name for one simple reason. is that we wanted to be able to get our name out there while at the same time expressing what we did in our name.
Right.
And it hasn't changed our business structure. It hasn't changed our goals at the firm. It simply has allowed us to better express who we are rather than sounding like some bougie law firm in Century City, which we never were. And obviously we're no longer in Century City. It allowed us to better explain to our clients what we do through our name.
Right. It's funny because, as you guys know, in the legal world, most lawyers are used to just putting their name on the door, right? It's the traditional way of just doing things. And this is a little bit different, right? You are branding almost like a company would brand, right? So the question is, does that take away from the core of, right, like conveying the message to the public? Or is it just time to really get the concepts across to the public in a more business-like way? Even though the name Lyfe, by the way, doesn't give me business vibes, it gives me more of a human connection vibe. But still, it's like that business approach versus the traditional way law firms have been named, right?
When we first started out with creating the firm, we initially set out saying we want to have our firm bigger than ourselves.
Right.
We want something that can function without me being there, without us having to put all our effort into it. And that's where we changed our business model. Rather than having, one attorney working really hard and doing a great job, we wanted the firm as a whole to be able to do all the different components, bring it together, and get the best result for the client. And to put our individual names on it, initially, my last name is Tabibian, Sam's last name is Manouchehri. We wanted to call it Tabman, which would have almost sounded like another human being, which is an attorney as well. But we kind of went away from that because we thought, it is bigger than us.
Yeah.
It takes the totality of a group of people to get the best results. So I think the future of law is the same way as well. It's not going to be, it's either going to be individual attorneys that are solo practitioners, which will have their own name, or it's going to be firms that are going to have a structure and have to run. So I think that's where the trend is going towards either way.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it with an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And our entire environment at the office, and you've been here and you can see it somewhat in the video, is a family environment that we all work together as a team. All right. I don't like Sam and I to be considered the bosses. We're the leaders of the firm. And the difference between a leader and a boss is quite significant. And the simplest way to express the difference is a boss is standing behind and whipping people and say, work, work, work. Leader standing in front, pulling with everybody else at the front.
Yeah.
So I have a meme even showing the difference kind of like between like a Egyptian pharaoh and a true leader. So what we do at the office is that we have a corporate structure, simply meaning that there's different departments with different department heads that all do their own set of tasks and duties within a certain box. But nobody goes outside that box because with multitasking comes inefficiency. If you go to a small personal injury law firm, for example, you most commonly have what's called a case manager. And at a small firm, a case manager will handle intake all the way through, lien negotiating. And that is a lot of different tasks, which will exhaust somebody and they're not going to be particularly great at anything. All right. I am a believer that a jack of all trades is a master of none. And I know that the saying is actually much longer but I do believe that you should specialize in certain thing and be the best at it. Mm-hmm. And we've been successful in using both of our legal backgrounds. We're both been attorneys for 20 years plus. And Sam also is a JD MBA. So he's got a business background, which allows us to delineate our two roles at the firm. Mm-hmm. Right? We are law meets tech. All right. Mm-hmm. And you brought up AI, in your introduction, and we actually had a meeting yesterday with our director of operations regarding the AI that's coming. And any lawyer that is old school in thinking that they don't need to use AI is providing a serious disadvantage to their client, simply because don't think the insurance companies aren't using AI themselves. They are. So if you want to be on a level playing field, let alone, on a advantageous playing field with a defense counsel or insurance company, you have to use these new technologies.
Yeah.
It's like using, an encyclopedia instead of Google. All right. You might get that answer at some point, but you're not being nearly as efficient as you want to be. And like what Sam alluded to a minute ago, with a lot of changes in the California legal field, with the bar allowing, possibly for what's called, what was that playground thing where non-attorneys can practice law. Big money, private equity money, venture capital money is going to come into California and become eligible to become owners in law firms. Presently, only lawyers can in California. But in Arizona, it's happened. In other states, it's happened. It's going to happen here most definitely at some point. The only firms that are going to exist are ones that are large enough to scale and properly represent the clients, and solo practitioners that can handle, 100 cases. Anything in between, you're going to become obsolete. And the only way to become large enough to properly and efficiently represent all your clients is through technology.
You're covering a lot, and I think we're going to go in more detail in all of those areas you're covering. The average law firm, and it seems like West Coast and East Coast are like two different worlds sometimes, because there's a different way of doing business and branding and connecting with the consumer. But it just seems like in terms of structure and culture and branding, that you guys see it in the sense that there is changes coming, and you're being proactive in terms of harnessing what those tools and resources look like. The average attorney just doesn't think like that, right? So what needs to happen, right? There's attorneys tuned into this podcast mainly, and I'm sure a lot of them are trying to figure out how to take time out of their busy day to restructure, to enhance processes, departments. Where does somebody even start, right? You guys said we have to rebrand. So you took some time, and there was a creative process. There was just intentionality was put into rebranding the firm. But then, of course, that affected the culture, right? And then that also affects the processes and everything that happens internally. How much bandwidth does that take? Can an average lawyer do that, or where do they even begin?
I'll start first with an analogy, because times change, every industry changes, and if you don't keep up with the changes, you get left behind.
Yeah.
Approximately 20, 30 years ago, when I first started law school, we were taught how to do research in the library. You would have to go find a book, read the case law, then go find another book, find another case law, and then ultimately shepherdize and literally spend, 8 hours in the library all day just to do legal research on a memorandum or on a motion or whatever you want to do. And that was actually how attorneys practiced. You go down to the law library, you do your research. LexisNexis and Westlaw came out with the internet. They came out with research online. And that same research that you did in the library that took 8 hours, you would do it in 15 minutes, 20 minutes online using legal research, clicking a button and shepardizing, and you're done, right? So what did that do at the time? It created a situation where if you're an attorney that's not utilizing this new system, you'd be billing your client 8 hours of time and wasting all your time doing something that another attorney would do in 20 minutes. Well, that attorney that's billing 8 hours is not going to have that many more clients in the future, because they're going to say, I'm not going to pay you this much time when this attorney will save me 50% of my bill. Right. And that's it. The industry changed. You couldn't do research in law library anymore. You had to do it online. Same concept is happening right now. Ultimately, if you don't start using technology, especially advanced technology like AI, you're not going to have the ability to compete, whether you're doing hourly work, contingency work, or whatever it is. The next attorney that is doing that is going to blow you out of the water, and you're done. So you're going to have to adapt and change. Now, with the adapting and changing, it comes with a different mindset. And the mindset should be that you have to understand you can't just work and not have other people or other system do the work. You now have to take a step back and say, you know what, I got to build this system, put some time and effort into it, because ultimately that'll save me and make me competitive and make me more efficient or enable me to do things that I couldn't do before. So it's that changing mindset saying, I need to take the time and put the money and effort into making this happen, because if I don't, I'm going to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
Every protocol that we enact is with the mindset of scalability. All right. That there has to be protocols that, yeah, there's exceptions to it on one occasion, but there needs to always be protocols on how to scale this up. With this simple understanding that the goal is to maximize efficiency so that you achieve, the two goals in a PI case of recovery and compensation, while at the same time being able to market to get more clients and not affecting your quality. If you're simple example, if you're a solo, if you're not having systems in place, but you're great at rainmaking, you're either working 24/7 or you're doing a disadvantage to the clients that you presently have. I know it's not a great lawyer, he's a great rainmaker. He's a good BSer, to be quite blunt. And his favorite thing is to sign up clients, and he's great at sales. But once a client becomes a client, they're constantly complaining because once he closes, he does a terrible job in representing his clients during the representation.
Right.
And I tell the guy, like, you need to hire people to do the things that you're not good at or that you don't want to do. Because the way we think of every single client is they're one case. It might be one of several thousand of ours, but that's not how we look at it. And that's not how we treat it. We treat it as if it's our only case. And the only way you could do that with a number of cases that we have and that a person, would generally want in order to become successful is to use technology, use specialization so that you're getting the quality despite increasing your quantity. And you cannot do that without technology.
We talk about quality. What does quality exactly mean? Does that mean the way somebody answers the phone? Does that mean simply like somebody's calling the client, giving them an update? Does it mean you're getting medical records faster? Give me a little bit more in terms of what that means day to day.
I will say, first, you want to look at the result of the quality. How do you determine if you had quality or not? You look to see if you have a happy client with a successful result. So ultimately, quality is client that's giving you a 5-star review, smiling and happy with what you've done, and that you've gotten the maximum result for your client. Those are the two ways of determining quality. Now, how do you get to that is the combination of everything you just said. It's making sure that you're constantly communicating with the client, you're educating the client, you're holding their hand along the way, you're fighting as hard as you can with the other side, getting them the best results. It's really the totality of all of that. And the only way you can know that you got that is, you get that 5-star Google review and you say, hey, I got good quality. Or on the flip side, you get that one client that gives you that 2-star review, and all of a sudden you're raising red flags saying, what did I do wrong? Contacting the client saying, hey, what happened? Why aren't you happy with the results that we gave you? And they'll explain to you. And, we've had a couple times where a client will give us a 2-star review. I'll pick up the phone and I'll call them and say, what did we do wrong? Because I'll look at the file and see we got them the maximum result. And they say, one small thing that happened to be insignificant, but they were unhappy about, I make sure we make that right. And then we set up a process so that no other client deals with the exact same issue that this client dealt with before.
Right. So
let me add this, Mirena. The why in life, it means different things, but it also means we explain the why. So when you ask what is quality, quality is explaining to the client every step of the way. The way I explain it is, imagine you tell a child not to stick a fork in the outlet. The child is going to stick the fork in the outlet to find out why you told them not to do it. But if you explain the why, even if it's a bad news, let's say, all right, let's say you have a catastrophic injury and the defendant only has a $15,000 insurance policy, that's called being massively underinsured. There's no ability for the defendant to pay on top. They have no money. They could just file bankruptcy. that's bad news to the client. But if you explain why it is what it is, and I can't help you, no one can help you, it's just bad luck.
Yeah.
You will still get a 5-star review because you explained it to the client. Why? It's not the lawyer, it's not the law, it's just, it is bad luck that you got hit by somebody that has no money and you don't have any insurance yourself. So when we decide about quality, it's explaining the good, the bad, the ugly. And if you do that to any client, they will appreciate that you explain to them why. Mm-hmm. So you bring up, answering the phones. Coincidentally, I was interviewing somebody for a new receptionist, and I told them that you are the first point of contact with clients, potential clients, defense adjusters, defense lawyers. I need you to answer the phone Lyfe Law with literally a smile, because that person generally calling is either in a bad situation, like a client or a potential client, or it's adversarial, an insurance company or a lawyer on the other side. I need you to disarm them with your hello. So from the moment of the hello, everybody knows that when you answer the phone, you have to give your energy into the phone. And the simplest way I explain it to everybody is that you have to care. If you care and you do your job well, things will work out to the best that they can. Yeah. All right. Again, you cannot change the coverage. You cannot change the facts of the accident, but you can achieve maximum recovery by caring. Yeah. And that's how we teach everybody in the office is if you care and you act like that and you work that way and you treat the client as the one client, you will achieve the best results for that particular case. Mm-hmm. But again, you can't affect luck.
Right. So culture, right? Every person you hire, teaching them exactly what Lyfe Law stands for and what to expect in there, defining the positions, right? Just running it like a well-oiled machine, like a business. And look, I spent a lot of time with law firms, and they say, well, we're really good at this aspect, but we just can't figure out these other aspects. And ultimately, as you guys know, it just really comes down to very basic things. And that is communication internally and with clients, having a plan, having structure, having just well-defined milestones that people need to hit on an ongoing basis, proper incentivizing people the proper way, right? Just to keep your employees, they're your biggest asset first and foremost. But then as we talk about AI, and there is obviously a lot of fear with AI because, I'll have conversations with some lawyers who are up to speed and say, well, I don't know if I'm going to have a job, right? It can replace me. I may not, like you were saying, it used to take 8 hours, now it takes 15 minutes. It may take 30 seconds to do the research to get basically to the bottom line. So is there some fear or confusion of where AI stops and where a lawyer or a law firm begins in terms of that process?
I think the fears are there for a reason. I don't think AI is there yet. Yeah. In all candor, and the best example I can give right now is that one of our junior partners sent an email showing an opposition to a motion that opposing counsel served us, or a mediation brief, their opposing counsel served us. And you read this mediation brief and it was clear they utilized AI to draft parts of this brief not because of content, but because of the tone and the way that it was written, clearly robotic. So, they should have taken a step back and said, let me revamp this and make sure it looks better. Like it's not robotic. Mm-hmm. But this is the first generation of AI. So is it going to progress? Is it going to get better? Yes. Will it start taking big components of attorneys' jobs? My guess or my prediction is it will take big components of it, but it doesn't mean everyone's going to have to be out of jobs. Eventually, the industry is going to change. And, instead of putting your effort into just the legal aspect of things, now law firms are going to have to put their effort into making sure that you're able to utilize AI properly, that you're able to run the correct prompts, and that you're able to have the systems in place to actually properly utilize the AI. So it's more of a pivoting, I think, right now than it is AI taking everyone's jobs. It's just changing the job structure. What's going to be like in 10 years? I mean, I would not be surprised if AI is doing our jobs. It can, or it might not. I have no clue. So I wouldn't put the cart before the horse at this point.
Yeah. Sahm, you have any thoughts on that? I'm sure you do.
I'm very old school. All right. Thank God for Sam and our operations, to be quite honest. If I was still running my own practice, I would not have been paperless, let alone with the tech that is there. The way I look at it is that it's going to replace some jobs, but open up other jobs. And the simple example I could give is like, yeah, if you prompted, ChatGPT or similar AI technology to draft a motion, and this happened in New York, I think, you still need somebody to verify that it's accurate. So you can't prompt the AI to make sure it's accurate because it already wrote you can't like prompt itself. So ultimately, I think you're going to need prompters that can properly and efficiently prompt the AI, and then you're going to need somebody to fact check it. Because if you're citing, old law or made up law that's happened in some cases, then the court's going to get really mad at you. So, you're citing like made up law, you're going to get sanctioned, let alone lose the motion. So my position is that, yeah, it's going to take a lot of positions that are kind of mundane, task-based lower positions possibly, but open up higher positions. So what I imagine is maybe less staff, but higher qualified, higher paid staff, and those lower level positions being replaced.
The one thing I did want to point out as far as the AI goes, it won't make mistakes that a human being will make. I mean, yeah, it might in certain situations make up laws that don't exist, and that's because it wasn't prompted correctly. But if it's reviewing a document, it's not going to make a mistake that a human being will make ultimately. So that's what a lot of where the trend is going to go. AI is just so that you don't have mistakes in calendaring and mistakes in drafting things,
summarizing things,
everything. So we just started a pilot program with our case management software, Filevine, and we're utilizing AI right now to review medical records and come up with summaries. And next stage we're going to do to review deposition transcripts. And then once it reviews the deposition transcripts, it'll find inconsistencies within the deposition transcript and highlight those so that you can go back, did the client make two different contradictory statements within deposition? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Next thing you're going to know is the AI will review the client's discovery response and our former responses and a deposition transcript and see, is there an inconsistency there? As great of an attorney as someone is, you have too many things on your plate. You can't sit there and review a file like that or memorize the responses and the discovery to say, oh, look, there's a red flag over here. Trust you, me, the defense will have the resources to do that. But as a plaintiff's attorney, you probably don't have enough time in the day to do that unless it's a major case. So AI is going to come in, supplement that, and catch those mistakes that a human being may not catch.
Yeah. But also ultimately, right, as we talk about improving efficiency, you're improving efficiency so you can provide better care, but really better care just means better human interaction with your client. You have more accuracy in your work product and you're delivering, right? But you're also the way you're delivering and how the client is receiving that information. I think it's going to make a huge difference. So the courtroom lawyers, the lawyers that are trying the cases, I think that need isn't going to go away because you have to be able to go in front of a jury and try the case. And so I think ultimately it might, I'm sure there's going to be so much in the shuffle, right, that it's hard to even predict. But ultimately, it's going to have a lot of positives that clients get to benefit. And as long as you're harnessing and you're paying attention in that way, then you're going to optimize and maximize the recovery for your clients. I know we jumped ahead a little bit because I wanted to, you briefly, Sahm touched on USC. I really want to hear a little bit more about that partnership with USC because it's a little bit unheard of to have a university like USC partner with a law firm. And why did that happen in the first place? And what is expected of you as a law firm in this partnership with USC, if you can share?
First off, Sam went to USC for college, for undergrad. I went to USC for law school. And so we're Trojans. I went to UCLA for college, but I had no Bruin love, to be quite honest. I never really cared for UCLA, even though when I went there. What happened was, this was still when we were Century Park Law Group, and we have a very good name in the community, in the legal community, both as Century Park as well as Lyfe Law now, because of our quality control and our success in representing, clients. And it was the middle of COVID, August of 2020, and we got this random email from a representative of USC saying that USC had decided to embark on a search for a partnership relationship with a Los Angeles-based law firm. And through their diligence, they had come across Century Park Law Group. They had checked us out, asked around, went on our social media. We are very, very present on social media. And we're very proud of our social media presence, because the way we do it is not like, oh, I got my client 1.2 million. No, we educate. And the reason we do that is for marketing reasons, all right? Either referring attorneys or clients or whoever, we educate them, and then they understand we know what we're talking about, not just trying to sell.
Right.
We sell our knowledge, not our results necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And got an email randomly in August of 2020. And immediately Sam and I were interested, and I met with the representative while we were still work from home. I met with him in my office here. It was a surreal time, Mirena. I still look back at COVID. I'm like, that was some weird stuff.
Yeah.
You asked me before COVID if there ever be a pandemic in the world. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're in the 21st century. What do you mean? But yeah, it blindsided us, even though my wife was pregnant when COVID hit. So I was monitoring what was going on in China. And Sam and I were like, this is coming. This is not a matter of if, but when.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, we met, and immediately the representative understood that we have a similar brand awareness.
Mm.
Sam and I grew up together. We're not only business partners, law partners, but we're family. And the way we do things is, number one, we only care about our name, all right, our reputation. Because the way we've been raised and taught is the only thing you die with is your name. So die with a good one. And secondly, when we do anything, we do it right or we don't do it at all. Mm-hmm. Period. Be it the rebrand, the layout of our office, the way we work up a case. We don't have whatever word you want to use things. Or I don't want to cuss on your podcast. So when the USC representative came to the office, I walked him to the office, and I explained to him that we have two goals. I said it earlier: get the client back to health, get them full compensation. We're not God. We can't just make things right. Those are our two goals. And within 48 hours, we had negotiated and come to terms and signed a partnership agreement. And part of our partnership agreement is access to their, IP, to their intellectual property. You got.
Nice.
And it's been an incredible relationship in that, Sam and I have gotten to know the athletics department very well. We've traveled with the team to numerous places. Last year we went to the Utah game. It was a terrible game. We lost the last second. And then we went to Notre Dame the year before. I think this year we're going to the Oregon game. But Sam and I have always had Trojan pride, and then marketing with Lyfe and SC. For example, this year's marketing campaign is SC for Life. And one of the things when we did the name change back we figured the name in December of 2021. The first thing I did was contact USC because I wanted to make sure, and they loved it. And what prompted the name change partly was the USC partnership.
Mm-hmm.
When we entered into the partnership, we were trying to find a synergy between Century Park Law Group and USC.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard. Like, okay, we have similar brand awareness, we have similar goals, we have similar, marketing, but how do we find the synergy between a personal injury law firm and a college? And it was very difficult. It was very difficult to market using Century Park Law Group. So Sam and I, eventually in April of 2021 is when we embarked on a name search. We hired a marketing company to help us. They were unsuccessful. We were able to find the name ourselves. But what prompted the name change was partly the USC partnership, because we wanted to better explain what we did to USC, the alumni, the staff, everybody. Then we realized to everybody in the world, we want to better represent what we do. And Century Park Law Group didn't do that. So I give a lot of credit to us jumping onto that partnership. And the partnership is not a marketing tool, it's more of a branding tool. All right. The brand of USC is high quality.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they chose us, as well as that we're high quality. Mm-hmm. And it's been a beautiful relationship where the athletic director, when we were at the Utah game, we were at this huge dinner with all these sponsors and boosters. And we're talking about some high level people, it was a very interesting dinner. What was the name of the steakhouse? What was it?
Fleming's.
It was Fleming's in Salt Lake City. He called out Lyfe Law in the middle of a room of, 200 people. He's like, "Where's Lyfe Law? Where's Lyfe Law?" And he started complimenting us on our marketing and our billboards around campus. SC for Life is the marketing campaign around USC. And we were blown away. Like, whoa, like all these, we got United Airlines, Coca-Cola, I don't know what other sponsors, partners, and then I'm talking about boosters, like billionaires.
Right.
And he's calling us out. I was like, wow, all right, we're onto something, right, in that where our future is where we want it to be. And that's where Sam and I have always been aligned, is that you have to manifest things in your life. And we manifested finding Lyfe Law and being able to acquire Lyfe.com.
Yeah.
I don't think it was luck. I think that it was a lot. It was over a year that we decided to do the name change until we finally found it.
Right.
We decided on doing a name change in September of 2020, and we didn't finalize it until December 31st, New Year's Eve of 2021. And then it took about 6 months to rebrand.
Right. No, it's a fascinating story of infusing who you guys are as individuals into your business, and then transforming what a law practice has traditionally been into that leading edge, place that people can see as both a place to get help, but also identify with the brand, because it somewhat represents them and who they are. And really the younger generation would never be able to locate a law firm or pick a law firm that didn't have social media presence. So we're living in very, very different times. And I think that's why I've been fascinated with your story ever since we met. I find it to be so interesting, but it also illustrates how attorneys and legal professionals need to view their own craft. And it's a morphing, evolving craft. And technology, even though it's not something you went to school for, it is part of the landscape. And you either, like you said, have to get on board and you're left behind. But to that point, I want to discuss with you a little bit about marketing, because marketing in Los Angeles is very saturated and it's very competitive, right? I was looking at, because I like looking up stuff and research, but I was curious to know how much money is spent in LA annually on marketing from personal injury attorneys. And it was about $10 billion a year. Did you guys know that?
I did not know that.
10 billion.
It is the most competitive. Let's use pay-per-click, PPC, for a simple example. It is the most expensive PPC in the world.
The world.
For Southern California injury lawyer, the PPC cost is the most expensive in the world.
So then my question is, how the heck can somebody compete? Some of these people are putting in unlimited, campaigns, unlimited budgets. And if $10 billion is being spent annually, I can only imagine what it costs to bring in 10 cases. How do you guys attempt to stay competitive? Is it just the brand? Are you just focused on the brand, PR, the partnership with USC? Or, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I will tell you one of the best assets that we have to be competitive is just to be good attorneys and keep our clients happy. We built the firm. It's about 9 and 10 years now, and 10 years. We get a lot of repeat business. We get a lot of our clients referring cases to us, a lot of former clients coming back to us. So that in and of itself, making sure you keep your clients happy and building a relationship with them, that's a marketing tool that you have to utilize. Now, outside that, being competitive, dealing with fighting against all the other big personal injury attorneys out there, it's very hard, and you have to be very fluid and dynamic, which means everything is constantly changing. The landscape on the in marketing here in Los Angeles from COVID till now did a 180, in my opinion. What you were able to get accomplished 2019, you could not get accomplished right now. A lot bigger players now, a lot of people pumping money into it, like you said, $10 billion. Half the billboards around town are now just personal injury attorneys. So how do you compete with that? Well, first you got to at least come up with the capital to have all the billboards, because they're not cheap. I can tell you that much for sure. Right. Second, you got to differentiate yourself from all the competitors. Most competitors have their names on the billboards. They put their faces on the billboards. So we try to differentiate ourselves by not putting the face, putting our name up there, having a cleaner look, something that people might identify with, as opposed to, someone just pointing in a billboard and saying, hey, come to us as your attorneys. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer as to how you market. You just got to constantly try everything, whatever sticks. You got to just keep putting more money into it.
Everybody's got different ingredients, but everybody's keeping it secret. I'll tell you that. I'll add my 2 cents if you want.
Yep.
So there's something called a CPL, cost per lead, and a CPA, cost per acquisition of that client.
Which is different than what Google calls it. This is what we call it.
Okay. You obviously want your CPL to be as low as possible and your CPA to be as low as possible. Otherwise, you're going to run in the negative. The most expensive CPA is through PPC. All right. You could put $1 million a month into it, and you'll get a bunch of cases, but the cost per acquisition is going to be high. Versus the cheapest CPA is a referral from either a client or somebody that's worked with you and knows your quality. So for those attorneys, practitioners that cannot afford to compete in the PPC world, because there's no point in putting $50,000 a month in PPC, for example, because you're just wasting money.
Right.
The only way is through quality. And in order to do proper quality and to grow again is through technology. To answer the question, it comes back full circle. If you don't have the money, the only way you can build your practice is by doing a good job and making sure that you are reinvesting in your clients that you've done a good job for, by remarketing to them, saying, hey, don't forget about me. Remember, I did a great job in your case. And there's different ways to remarket to them. I'm not going to get into the ingredients again. That's secret. But doing a good job will allow you to compete and grow at a slower rate versus somebody that might have an angel investor or something like that, where they're just throwing mad money. And the way I was taught is that you never go to a restaurant that has a commercial, all right? Because the only reason they're getting new customers is from the commercial, not from the food. And if you do a good job, you will get the clients that have a lower CPA while being able to market the customer with the higher CPA. And then obviously the lower CPA is where you can fill your coffers, while the higher CPA just pays the bills.
Right. Yeah. Very insightful. Thank you for that. So do you guys have like internally, you budget, I'm assuming, and you don't have to answer specifics, it could be generic, but do you guys determine what your cost will be for advertising marketing at the beginning of the year and then you just kind of roll with it? Or is it something that you tweak and change constantly? How does that work?
It's a combination of both. You set up your yearly budget of how much money you're planning on outlaying for the year, but as you do that, now you're going to start dabbling in different areas to see what works or not, and then you constantly got to pivot, knowing the finite amount of money you have to spend. That's where the difficult part comes in play.
Yeah,
it's all about ROI in essence. Is that you see that, okay, your PPC, you're getting traction, so you want to allocate more money towards that, versus the opposite. You see that like you're kind of on a downtrend. That's why you have to have like a PPC manager, an SEO manager. The key is you can't do everything yourself, and you don't have the knowledge to do everything yourself. Right? I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at, and I'm not good at a lot of things. So I hire people, or I outlay to people to do the things that I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do, and I'm not interested in doing everything anyways. I believe in quality of life. Right? I enjoy spending time with my family more than any other. I spent Sunday night with my wife, my kids, my parents, and my aunts at my parents' house. And I came into the office on Monday so happy, and I realized why, because we had a great night, spent like 5 hours, my kids hanging out with my parents. And I see them twice a week, and like I realized like my whole purpose in life is to find time, to acquire time. And the way you do that is by outsourcing or retaining talent to do the things that takes you too long to do, or you're just not good at, and the beauty of it is both Sam and I were not cheap. All right. If he was cheap or I was cheap, we'd have a problem, because unfortunately it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
And in order to get the quality of life that I want everybody in my orbit to have, it means we all have to work together to buy each other time. So we know our phones are answered 24/7, but it doesn't mean that we have our intake department answering it, because they need to have a life too. So it's all about finding the right way to do things to be as efficient as possible, and at the same time retaining the talent that you have by making their quality of life not all about work.
Yeah. No, you touched on something really important. I think at the end of the day, as we sit here, talk about business and law and helping other people, you can't help other people if you don't know how to help yourself and have some work-life balance and be there for the people that depend on you. And I think traditionally, as I have navigated, at least also from my personal experience, lawyers tend to overwork themselves, right? The expectations are really high. Business is very competitive. It's this very high stress environment in general, especially in places like Los Angeles. I mean, it's 10 times the stress level. So I think it's important for lawyers to understand and keep that in mind and plan their business accordingly, and to have the time to be able to do what they do great. And like you said, outsource the things that they have a need for, which companies are out there specialized to do exactly just that. And that's another thing that, again, was very refreshing, is that you guys take the time to go to a conference or to meet with different companies to see what they're offering, what is the latest, and how are they doing things, which most conferences I go to, attorneys don't even want to talk to the vendors in the room. They're just trying to run from them, right? So again, it's like these little details, but you're paying attention to the things that most attorneys, unfortunately, don't pay attention to. And it is a whole paradigm shift in terms of how, you need to be competitive in the marketplace today. And I feel like your awareness is there, and it's wonderful. So one last question, either one of you or both of you can answer. What does the future look like, right? What are your plans for the next 2 to 5 years? We talked about scaling, we talked about capital, we talked about technology, all of these components. Where do you guys see your law firm going, and what kind of impact do you want to make in society?
I see our law firm going towards the way of technology, meaning utilizing technology as much as possible to get the best results and to keep our overhead as low as possible. That's the key. So my goal for our firm is to not hire new employees, but to utilize technology and keep getting more and more cases without having to hire and train 10, 20, 30 more people on a yearly basis. That's where I see ourselves. As far as our message, we are, life is our name. We are attorneys for life, essentially. We want to make sure that we handle everyone's matters and every consumer's matters. So we will ultimately expand to other areas of law. We recently started a workers' compensation department, anticipate going into employment law, lemon law, or other areas of law in the future, and truly being our clients' attorneys for life.
Sahm, anything else?
When we did the name change, it completely changed what we wanted to do. And it's not a coincidence that the name change occurred during the pandemic. I know it changed my life considerably. Again, my wife was pregnant in the middle of all of it. So I became a father in the middle of a pandemic. And I realized that not that just being an injury lawyer was bad, or it's definitely got its stereotypes and its bad reputation in certain realms, but I wanted to do more with my life. And the way I look at our clients versus insurance companies or big business is David versus Goliath. So when we did the change, it changed what I want us to be. I don't want to just be your lawyer for life. I want to be your lawyer in life, to help you anytime you're dealing with a situation where you're being beaten down by some big corporation of some sort. And that's where consumer law is defined as. All right? We're all consumers, all of us. Be it, you're consuming something at Walmart where you get injured, or you bought a lemon and you have to deal with Ford, not wanting to respond to the fact that your car keeps breaking down, to, you got fired by, AMC theaters, anything where you're dealing with a big company and you're just used to getting beaten down, because sadly the world is not better. It's much worse, where the middle class is being diminished. And the beauty of being a consumer attorney is that we represent people in all spectrums of society. You could be a homeless person, you could be a billionaire even, and you still need our help. So what we view ourselves as is no longer simply injury lawyers, but your lawyers in life, where ultimately life.com would be a situation where anytime you needed help in some sort of legal aspect, where it's some big, situation where you just don't know where to start or where to go and need guidance, we'll be there for you. And to summarize consumer law, the reason why consumer law is on a contingency basis, meaning on a percentage, is that if we charged hourly, our clients would not be able to afford us. Because if the big corporation or big insurance on the other side understood that we're being paid hourly, they would paper us, where they would serve discovery, motions, depositions, subpoenas, where every month we're sending this huge bill to our clients, and our clients are going to say, mercy, I can't afford you. Settle for whatever you can get because I can't afford you anymore. So the reason why contingency, law started, I don't know how many years ago, well before my practice, was in order to equalize the playing field against these big corporations. I did business litigation many years ago. And what I learned is that the larger, wealthier company won, regardless of who was right or wrong. Because in business litigation, it is hourly on both sides. Mm-hmm. So if I represented the wealthier company, I knew I could paper the smaller one, and vice versa. So to end the conversation is that we just want to help people in all aspects of their life when they're being bullied, in essence.
Well, look, it's been enlightening. It's been fun chatting with you about your personal style, your personal insights into the business of law. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to future conversations, because I'm pretty sure we're going to keep talking about tech and AI in the months and years to come. So thanks again and good luck.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Stay tuned for upcoming episodes available on popular platforms such as iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.